Uh-oh. All right, guys, if you fly a JR28X, there's a good chance that you might have had issues with your radio getting stuck on the previous screen that I showed you. If you have, one of the options is to send it down to D-Force in the US. The other option is you can put a new card in on the main board. So that's the purpose of this video, guys, is to show you how to do that. Obviously, if you're going to do this, you're going to be taking your radio apart. You're going to be dealing with some computer stuff, so do it at your own risk. I did it to my radio when I had an issue not too long ago, and I also made a few spare cards, and I'm going to show you guys how to do all this stuff in this video. So let's get into it. All right, guys, this is my spare 28X that I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this radio apart. We're going to take out the internal SD card. Now, when I say internal SD card, I don't mean the SD card that saves your models, which is the one that goes right there. This radio, and keep in mind, I am not an expert on radios. I just figured this out, and I figured I would share it with everybody. So the radio itself has a micro SD card mounted to the board, and that card is what stores the, as far as I can tell, the boot up software for the radio. So what we need to do essentially in part number one is take the radio apart so we have access to the back end, and we have access to the micro SD card. So I'll show you how to take this apart in sections here. All right, guys, don't laugh at my baby blanket. It's nice and soft, keeps the radio protected. Okay, so first thing we need to do is take the battery out, or batteries out. This radio does have two batteries. I just only had one in, so batteries come out pretty straightforward. There's just the two plug-ins. Set that aside. Next thing we need to do is take the grip covers off. So those just pop out. Okay, nice and straightforward. We'll take the antenna off. And we basically have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Allen screws. And then the last thing holding it all together is this little Phillips screw right there. Okay, so I like to do that one first. Okay, so we got that one out. Okay, and all the Allen keys are 1.5 millimeter hex heads, or Allen keys, whatever you call them. Okay, so the base plate comes off. I'll just keep the screws in there. And then the back comes off, just like that. Okay, we'll keep all the screws in there just so they're safe. And I will flip this over for you guys so you can see what the back looks like. So pretty straightforward, nothing special back here. Just remember, guys, that taking the radio apart to this level is really not a big deal at all. There's a lot of radios, older radios, that you had to take it apart like this just to get it adjusted. So, okay, guys. So there's the back of the radio. Now, there's really not a whole. I mean, there's a lot going on here, but there's really not much we need to do other than access the SD card, the micro SD card, which is right there. So what we're going to do is you just pop this up, slide it up, and the little tabby comes up. I'll show you this in a close-up. Okay, so there's the micro SD card. Slide it up, and card slides out. Okay, now if you ever need to change the internal battery, this is like the the memory battery or whatever, so your time stays good, things like that. That's where you're going to access the battery anyways, so it's not a big deal to get the radio apart to this point. So we'll set that aside. Now there's a couple things that are extremely important with these cards. So you'll notice the card is labeled as I for industrial, okay? Okay guys, so here's two of the replacement cards. So just to give you an idea what went on here. So this is the card out of this radio. This is the card that came out of my previous 28X. This is one of the replacement cards that I purchased, like that. Okay, and my current 28X has one of these cards in it. So it's very, very important when you buy these cards, if you're going to have a couple spares. So I have two spares on hand that I made. So it's important if you're going to use these spares that they're industrial. Okay, so these ones that I bought, they were Kingston ones. Only the 8 gigabyte ones were available. So that's what I had to buy. Now, if you have, your radio is going to have a 4 gigabyte in there. If you somehow had an 8 gigabyte and you were trying to make a clone of the 8 onto the 4, the program that I use won't let you do that. It can only be the same size card or bigger. So I could take a 4 and clone it to a 4, or I could take a 4 and clone it to an 8 or a 16 or whatever. But the clone program that I use doesn't allow me to do that if the card's smaller than the original. So just keep that in mind. That's just with my program that I have that I'll show you. But those are the cards that I have and the two spares that I have on hand. So. All right, guys, so in order for this to work, you will need a Windows-based computer. Apples or Macs don't work. So one of the keys here is you'll need to be able to put both of the micro SD cards on the computer at the same time. So my Surface that I have here has a micro SD slot back there. And then we've got a regular USB slot on the side here. So what I do is just use one of these adapters, and it's got the SD card in there, and then I can just plug that into the USB adapter, and I'll be able to clone one to the other, basically, is what we're doing here. All right, guys, so I'll show you a couple things here regarding what these cards look like. So I've plugged this card in, and the thing about it is it's partitioned in a way that it's not just something you can copy onto a new card. It's got to be partitioned in a certain way, and that's why creating a clone of it is the best thing to do. So anyways, guys, what actually goes astray on these cards is this boot file, which is an image file. Now, I think, and I haven't tried this yet, so it's possible that this is an easy solution, but I think if you can get somebody to send you this U-boot file, you can just delete it and replace it on the actual card. So that's an option as well too. I don't know if that works, but the point of this is I'm going to show you how to clone one of these cards and have it as a spare. So the program I'm using is this AOMIE partition program. I downloaded off the internet, Partition Assistant Standard Edition. So this is free. You can upgrade it, but this is the free version. So, all right, guys, so I'll show you the process here. So we've got my hard drive on the computer. We've got disk number 2, which we are going to record disk number 3 onto disk number 2. So if you look at all these different partitions, this is why I actually originally tried to set all these partitions up and didn't work, and then I figured out that I could clone cards. So here's what we want to do. So we want to go over to the left-hand side here and say disk clone. Okay, we want to pick the one that we are going to clone. So we want to pick number 3, disk clone, clone disk quickly, sector by sector clones. So we want to do that one. and we are cloning it onto disk number 2. Next. So all the data on the selected destination disk will be wiped out. So disk number 2 will be wiped out. Yes. And what we do is we go finish. Now nothing's actually happening yet until you go to the top left-hand side and you hit the apply button. So as soon as we hit the apply button, and we're going to say proceed. Yes, we want to start. Okay, so it says it's going to take about 2 minutes and 6 seconds. All right, guys, so copy or clone of the card has been made. So disk number 3, just to be clear here, is the one that I had as a backup. Disk number 2 is the one that came out of my backup radio. So what we'll do now is we'll close this. We're going to eject those cards safely. Okay, so those have been ejected. Okay, guys, so this is the this is my backup card. Okay, so we're going to pull that out. And the card that's in the back here of the Surface is the one that came out of my spare radio. So this card's been wiped clean and made had a copy put on of my backup software. So we'll put this back in the radio and I'll show you what happens. Okay, guys, so there's the original card from the radio. Put one of my backup cards back in the package. So I just keep these in my radio box. All right, guys, so let's put this guy back together. So putting it back together is very, very simple, just exactly the opposite of what we did. This is not easy without 2 hands. Okay, so card goes in like that, push down, slide it down. Okay, so that's done. Now, before we put the back all on, just to make this a little bit quicker for you. Okay, so let's boot this thing up. So what happens usually is the radio will get to one of these screens. On my last time it happened to me, it was the JR screen, and it just sticks there. Now, one thing to remember when this happens is the radio actually still works. Okay, so it's not a link problem. The only thing is it's stuck on the last model that you were using. So this is where mine got stuck last time. You have no access to any of the screens or any of the adjustments or anything like that. But if you turn the last model on that you had, it still binds to the model, no problem. Okay, so there we go. Just like normal. Now, one of the things to remember with this is your models are not saved on that micro SD card. Your models are saved on the standard SD card. So it's extremely important to make sure that you back up your models on a regular basis. And that is why I'm going to have to reprogram my UltraFlash, because I didn't back it up. Okay, guys, just remember that in order to make a copy of a card, you'll have to have a good card, right? And for me, it wasn't a problem because I have multiple friends that have 28X radios, so getting a good card wasn't an issue. So maybe it's a little bit of a preventative measure thing. Have some spare cards on hand. That's why I decided to do it. So hopefully this video helps you guys out. If it did, give a video a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. When you do hit that subscribe button, don't forget to hit the bell so you get notified when I release new videos. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.